Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shalom.
We're going to start off with a prayer. And we're going to get right off into the praise and worship and get into the word of Yah. Father Yah, we come before you right now in the name of your son, Yahushua Mashiach. Father Yah, we just thank you right now for this day that you have made, and we should continue to rejoice and be glad in it. Father Yah, we come against all forms of contrary ruach, Father Yah, anything that tries to cause an issue, Father Yah, in our body, Father Yah. Father Yah, we come against that ruach that causes high blood pressure, Father Yah. Father Yah, we come against that ruach that causes anxiety, Father Yah. Father Yah, we come against that ruach that causes depression, Father Yah. Father Yah, we come against that ruach that causes suicidal mental thoughts, Father Yah. Father Yah, we come against that ruach that causes sickness and disease, Father Yah. Father Yah, we come against that ruach, Father Yah, that was behind them doing the diseases that they're pattern after out here, Father Yah. Those that are owning these diseases, Father Yah, that they're putting out, Father Yah, these regular so-called diseases, Father Yah. We come against the ruach that's behind them, Father Yah. We come against the ruach of the atmosphere, Father Yah. Father Yah, we take control right now of the region that we're in right now, Father Yah. Lifting it up before you right now, lifting up before your son, Yahushua Mashiach. We thank you right now for just being with us. We thank that we're not depressed, Father Yah. We come against that ruach that causes depression, Father Yah. Father Yah, we come against that ruach that causes us to be pressed down and oppressed, Father Yah. Father Yah, we come against that ruach that causes us to feel less than, Father Yah. Father Yah, we come against that ruach that causes poverty, Father Yah. Father Yah, we come against that ruach that causes procrastination, Father Yah. Father Yah, we just thank you right now, and all I get that we get an understanding of you and understanding of your word and how to operate in the Ruach HaKodesh, Father Yah. Father Yah, we magnify your name right now because you're worthy, Father Yah. Father Yah, we just want to come before your throne right now, just let you know that you alone are worthy to be barak. Father Yah, we just thank you right now for just leading and guiding us throughout this day, Father Yah. Father Yah, we just thank you right now that when we think of things, Father Yah, we think of things concerning building the kingdom of you, Father Yah, and edifying the kingdom of you, Father Yah. Father Yah, we just want to let you know that we appreciate you for this day, Father Yah. And Father Yah, we just magnify your name. In the name of your son, Yahushua HaMashiach, we pray. So be it. Shabbat Shalom, everybody, again.
Shabbat Shalom.
We're going to be dealing with examining the fruit. This really is a topic that I got to probably visit a few times because it's so much you can't compact it all in. But I'm saying examining the fruit because you have to be aware of people that are saying they're spiritual, because we're all spiritual beings. So, you know, that's not enough just to tell me that you're spiritual or to say that you're walking in the spirit. So I want to know, what ruach are you walking in? So a lot of people say that they're spiritual, but most of the time people are saying this based on some new cosmos or some type of journey that they're walking in, and it's not lined up by the things or the knowledge of the Most High. So I'm saying this, examine the fruit. So you want to examine the fruit that a person has. So you don't want to just accept their word for it. And a few things I wrote down that come to mind when, another thing you want to be aware of, people that hide behind titles. Like in the Hebrew walk, you have people hiding behind Moreh and elder and all this stuff, and they're putting it on a level almost as it was when you saw the apostles in the Christian church. And I question this stuff because even when, and this isn't, do your own research, but when you really get to saying I'm an apostle and all this stuff, you have to look at the ones that they pick. I mean, this is just scripture. This isn't saying nobody that's not one that's one. That's on them if they want to say they one or not one, but I want to see it based on the book. Because when you say you're an apostle, you have to have evidence. When the apostle Shaul said he was an apostle, he said, I was with you in demonstration and power. He wasn't just using it as a title. And when you look at a lot of these, I would say in the Brit Hadashah, you see a lot of these new and renewed covenants, when you see the ones that were saying they were apostles and stuff of that nature, you didn't see it every time you saw their name. It's like this demand to call me this title. People want this respect behind a title. And you see, when you see Paul, you would see stuff like bond servant. You would see fellow laborer, fellow brother, a prisoner of the Mashiach. You would see this because this represents humility. But when you put apostle, and this isn't saying don't operate in the title that you're operating in. I'm saying the ruach in which you're coming at with this. I'm saying when it's a ruach of manipulation and control behind it, when it makes you elite and puts you separate from the basic fellow man, and we have to call you this in order for you to, I would say, gain, I would say, interest in talking to us because you feel like we'll put you on the pedestal. If this has to happen, then that's another ruach behind that. And so we have to examine that ruach because back to the apostle thing, I'm not going to get on that because that's a whole nother topic because those that were picked, even when they got ready to cast lots, when they got ready to pick Matthias, when the lot fell upon Matthias and say he was amongst them around the time when the Mashiach came, he came back and showed himself. The apostle Shaul saw him also. And this isn't saying, hey, ones that saying they won not one, but according to the book, I'm having a hard time seeing it. Because when you see the book, it begins to talk about those that are saying they're of that title, that the office that they held had power behind it. It wasn't just us telling you that you're an apostle. It was that demonstration of power followed behind that. And I'm just using this little example to just show you to be aware of people that's saying that's using these titles in order to gain your respect. Don't let a title get your respect. Let the fruit behind the person get your respect. So it don't matter what you are. That's why he told Timothy to do the work of an evangelist. He said also make full proof of your ministry. So if there's no proof behind your ministry, the title doesn't matter. And this is what we have to watch out for. Stop this. It's like a bunch of pacifying and a bunch of stuff going on where we're putting these individuals on pedestals just because they say this in front of their name or they show you some type of plaque or something that they went and earned at one of these schools that they got, knowledge from Egyptology or something I want to say. And I'm saying this because Babylon can't determine who is a king or who is, operating in Israel. We can't let them be the standard, these institutions that they're sending us to put us in a point where now they're feeling like they're greater than and you're less than because you have bought into the fact that they're saying they're this. We can't do that. And we have to watch out for also another thing I want to put down before we get into it. When somebody is saying in the Christian church, they say God said, or God told me to tell you. Here they say Yah said, or Yah told me to tell you. You have to be leery of it sometime, but at the same time, despise not prophecy. But we ain't dealing with despising prophecy. We're dealing with discerning ruachs right now. So if you're watching the video, look at it from the beginning. We're talking about discerning ruach. So when someone comes and say Yah said, it puts you in a jam right then. It's like at that point, it's the end all be all. It doesn't allow you time to discern whether or not this is so or this is not so. And stop letting a lot of people lay hands on you. The word say be quick to lay hands on no man. A bunch of transferring spirits and stuff is going on. We have to be careful, to who it is that we're laying hands on and who we're allowing to lay hands on us and to speak into our life. Because a lot of people are basically pretty much just throwing the fishing net out there and just trying to figure out what they can get off you. Once they see you, they can pretty much tell what's going on. Most of the time they throw names out. It's a lot of stuff that go on. This is for people that don't understand, those that are just stuck, that don't know how to navigate in the ruach realm or the realm that we call spiritual. A lot of people are gullible. A lot of people may watch this video that's in church and that don't understand that they having a game ran on them. When you sitting down, they can look at you. If they didn't see you, especially they saw you once or twice come in there and you come by yourself or however the situation may be, they're going to quickly start bringing this stuff up. And you have to be careful what you allow to be received in your ruach, in your spirit. You have to be careful what you allow them to speak into your life because it takes you down a different path. You have to be leery of it. That's why you have to make sure that you're always in prayer and that you're fasting, that you're always able to discern and able to know good from evil, because it doesn't mean anything to get accurate information. That's what we have to be aware of. Every ruach that we have, every gift that we have, the enemy has a counterfeit to it. So if you're operating in the gift of prophetic, then he has those soothsayers that are out there that can do the same thing using demons. So you have to understand it's not enough to get accurate information. That's not enough to get the right answer. What it is enough to understand that when someone is telling you something, just because they tell you something one time doesn't mean it's going to hit right every time. You have to be aware when you get this accurate information, you have to look and say, okay, what ruach or what spirit is behind this person giving me this information? Because what happens is when you hear accurate information, you quickly yield and allow the person to lead you. They're not supposed to lead you. You're supposed to be led by the Ruach HaKodesh. But leading comes from this stuff that I'm saying. Synthetic witchcraft, using titles to get people captive under your spell. You can't do that. I mean, we have to stop doing it. Some of this is our fault, putting them on a pedestal. So when they say something, we make their word be to the point where there's no other way that it can be challenged. Anything that comes out of human beings' mouth can be challenged, because the word tells us what we should do when we see these ruach. We're supposed to try them to see whether or not they be of Yah. And so we're going to look at 1 John 4, 1 through 5. And it said, believe not every ruach. So don't believe it. It said, don't believe it, but try it. So it's not enough for me to hear you tell me the right thing. I need to try the ruach, the spirit in which you're coming from. And that's what we lose at most of the time, because the individual like houseofaryeh was quoting the Bible back to Yahushua Mashiach. It doesn't matter if somebody can quote every Bible, every new book, every lost book, anything they got. That doesn't matter. What matters is, are they in the right ruach in the process of doing it? Because if not, they're going to use it to twist and begin to get you on a different level, because you're going to think because you got the knowledge that you've gotten somewhere. But it's not enough to get knowledge. Knowledge alone is not going to cut it. You got to have knowledge and the ruach hakadesh, basically. Go ahead.
1 John chapter 4, verses 1 through 5 reads, Beloved, believe not every ruach, but try the ruach whether they are of Yah, because many false prophets are gone out into the world. Hereby know ye the ruach Yahuwah. Every ruach that confesses that Yahushua HaMashiach is come in the flesh is of Yahuwah. And every ruach that confesses not that Yahushua HaMashiach is come of the flesh is not of Yahuwah. And this is that ruach of the anti-Mashiach, whereof ye have heard that it should come, and even now already is in the world. Ye are of Yahuwah, little children, and have overcome them, because greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. They are of the world, therefore speak they of the world, and the world hears them.
It got my attention and said, greater is he that's in you than he that's in the world. So therefore you have a chance. So if they're out there operating behind a false ruach, then you know that they're operating from a worldly point of view. So greater is he that's in you than he that's in the world. So you don't have to be subject unto it. You have to try it. See, the thing is, we get caught up believing it. Quit looking for some new thrill. We'll get into a few scriptures that talk about that, the Athens that were just always seeking some new type of thrill or something like that. Don't be superstitious. Don't get caught up into superstition. We shouldn't mix up superstitious things with the things of Yah. We got to know that when we have a dream, that the dream comes from Yah, or whether it comes from our own conscience, or whether it comes from houseofaryeh. We have to understand that these are equal playing fields. You can't control them, but what you have to do is discern them. You have to make sure that you know what you're being led by. And that's anything that's going on in life. You have to make sure that when you're dealing with something, you have to deal with the ruach behind it. That's books and everything. That's movies and everything, because the ruach behind all this propaganda and all the information that you get. We can't be so quick to let them force feed us this stuff to the point where we accept it, and now we're making it some type of trend and run around believing it. Like, we can't let this stuff be the end all be all. I mean, we don't even have to get into all the old school superstitious thing like break a mirror, 7 years bad luck, sweep your feet, to dream about fish, automatically somebody's pregnant. All this stuff is that's not scripture. There's nothing wrong with someone saying, but if you're using this stuff to guide you, then that's not scripture. I'm sorry, if it came down the wrong road, somebody watch this, it's not. Like, it's the stuff that we've learned. It doesn't matter that it's real or that it's true or that you get information out of it. That so these things are not supposed to guide us. That's not the Most High. That's it. And there's nothing that we can read that'll say that. Even ones that get caught up into which way they're supposed to be praying and all this kind of stuff. It's nothing against anybody that's doing that, but I have to say it for somebody that won't be misled. There's no scripture that binds us to pray toward no east, west, north, or south. Because you're about to have a wreck or something like that, you have to pray at that point. And if you're just out and about and you just pray, you just start praying. That's no protocol. There's nothing that I've seen that binds us to this. That's it. And it doesn't, there's ways he told us to pray. When he started telling us that we get into that scripture, he didn't say turn this way or that way, say when you pray. It started letting you know. It doesn't say do that. And so we have to be careful letting people make, I would say, rules and make laws out of things that's not legally binding us in the world. We can't create new laws and enforce it on individuals or put it on ourselves to a point where we're bound. So we have to be aware of this stuff. Anything that people are trying to do and trying to make you do, you don't have to have a certain thing on to make you be a person that's in the realm of Yah. I would say walking in the Ruach HaKodesh is just a thing that's an inward thing. It's a knowing. It's an inside thing. It's called the Ruach of truth, not some stuff, a superstition that people have brought out that tries to lead and guide you. We can't go off of this stuff because you start getting into witchcraft and you don't even understand it. You don't know that you're getting into it. But if somebody don't tell you, you won't know. So you have to be aware. So you can't believe every Ruach, but try it. So it don't matter if somebody come up telling you something, you have to make sure you say, looking behind their life is messed up and the fruit that I see is not lining up. And so let's look at James chapter 3, starting at the 11th verse.
James 3 and 11. Does the fountain send forth at the same place sweet water and bitter? Can the fig tree, my brethren, bear olive berries, either a vine figs? So can no fountain both yield salt water and fresh? Who is a wise man and endued with knowledge among you? Let him show you out of a good conversation his works with meekness of wisdom.
Okay, so you're gonna get one or the other. And this is where we get caught up trying to straddle the fence, trying to make it be a middle ground. There's no middle ground. Everything in Yah is yea, and so be it. And so therefore you can't have both. Either you're gonna get salt water or you're gonna get fresh water. There's no perfect mixture. There's no balance. It's either one or the other. So if you're operating, you can have an individual that has the wrong information. And that don't mean that individual, I would say, it's a false prophet just because they came out with the wrong information. But when this individual shows me a pattern of constantly over a period of time bringing out false prophets, at that point I have to label you not a prophet. Even so that at that point I have to at least take the title off your name, even you saying you're not that, because the information, once you tell me you're a prophet, it has to come to pass, because it talks about that in Jeremiah. Says if it don't come to pass, then don't be afraid of it. If he say these things, they must come to pass. When we're in the book of Samuel in Bible study, it say Samuel, it say none of his words fell to the ground. Everything that Samuel prophesied, it came to pass. And they knew him. All Yasharal, they knew who Samuel was. When he came, they wanted to know if it was peace or not, because he came on a mission. He came with the word of Yah. That's a different from this stuff I'm seeing now. People run around here, got you giving them money and all this stuff here, and then they're not even doing anything. It's like we don't even see the demonstration. There's no office for them right now. There's no reason to actually be, we're not in a nation where it can be set up where we can enforce laws and rules. They can't kill or anything like that, like they was able to do. They can't pass judgment or life and death sentences. They can't do any of that now as we saw back then, because we're not in our own home. A lot of this stuff that's going on, we're all in position now to have what we have now called the gift of prophecy. But those set up in government back then. That's why we dealt with the apostle first, prophetic, those that are saying they're prophets right now, the other ones that got people captive, people running behind them, chasing them, trying to get a word from Yah, not understanding that sometimes the Ruach that's behind them is a demonic force. It's not the same thing. And so we have to look at, just like the lady that was actually doing the prophesying that had the masters when Paul and them was coming, they say they kept on for several days hearing her doing this, operating in this wrong Ruach. They said eventually he had to cast it out, because she said, these men are the men that come to show you the way to salvation. She had the right information, but it was the wrong Ruach. This is what we have to get in our minds. Stop being global. Stop allowing people to take you down the wrong road and get you caught up into something that's not even Yah, because you done got excited and fascinated with something that's going on, and that you just want to have some new thrill to the point where now you just running. That's why people get caught up into all this other stuff, crystals, Egyptology, because they want something new. That's why I talked about, I would say having Yah with contentment is great gain, just to paraphrase it. So if you have him and be content, that is great gain. You don't have to go running after some new type of thrill or trying to figure out what was going on. When you go back to our ancestors, before we came here, we were a mess. They were into witchcraft, most of them. So we can't start in Africa and try to say this is where we come from and start picking up all this Pan-Africanism and this Egyptology and trying to say this is what we were doing. Yeah, that's what they was doing. That's why they winded up here. That's why we're being oppressed now. They were doing that there when they fled from the land, because they came there, it was close by. Think about it, when Yahushua Mashiach was born, where did they go? like that. Everything was around right at that point in time. A lot of that stuff was together, and the maps has been mixed up. So when we get to talking about what religion we had and all this kind of stuff, don't get it twisted and think that we were in the religion that we were in prior to coming over here pre-slavery. No, we wasn't. They were doing stuff they shouldn't supposed to be doing. Some of them then they wouldn't operate in the way they supposed to be operating. And we go try to pick up at that point rather than going back to the beginning. You can't start in the middle and start trying to say, this is where I'm gonna start some type of new so-called spiritual journey. And next thing you know, you sitting there, you know, with your legs crossed, whatever we call the Indian style, and chatting and all this kind of stuff. You done got caught up. Your whole mind has been twisted now. You've been mixed up in the head like a blender because you done caught up on all this different strange fruit. You can't deal with strange fruit. And let's look at Acts 6:17. We're gonna deal with the city of Athens. Before we get into that, Acts 17 and 16, a little background behind that. Paul reasoned with them several Sabbaths. He reasoned with them. He was trying to bring them the knowledge of Yahushua HaMashiach and trying to bring them salvation, but they want to be caught up into superstition. Go ahead.
17 and 16.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when Paul waited for them at Athens, his ruach was stirred in him when he saw the city wholly given to idolatry.
Okay, that was 7. So he saw the city wholly given into idolatry. And so when you say wholly given into idolatry, that means that you're giving into it all the way. You ain't no partial idolatry. Everything about that city was idolatry at that point. That's why he was trying to reason with them, because he was trying to resist those other ones. We're not gonna read the chapter, but if you read that chapter, you'll see where they got all the philosophers and all this stuff. They're on a quest for knowledge. Just like we see now in this, what we got going on is like when you find out who you are, keep studying about who you are. And it's okay to have knowledge of other things, but don't get to the point where you think knowledge makes you to be who you are. It's not. You have to know Yah. It's not what you know, it's who you know. It's do you know Yahushua HaMashiach? Do you know of Yah? Do you know of the one that split it and parted the Red Sea? If you don't, then having all that knowledge, the scriptures say knowledge puffers up. So you have all that knowledge. I understand that our people destroyed for the lack of knowledge. That's the lack of the knowledge of Yah. That's it. I mean, we have to know what's going on. Don't get me wrong, but at the same time, it's telling you knowledge puffers up. It's also saying King Solomon wrote and said, to the making of many books is no end, and the reading of them brings on weariness. And so we know that there are books. There's nothing wrong with reading books, not to discourage someone from gaining information, but if this information is you're saying you're using to define you as being spiritual, don't forget we're all spiritual. So what spirit are you behind? What's the ruach? What's going on? So just to tell me you're spiritual is not enough. I need to know what is the actual evidence that you have. I need to see what are you operating in basically. I need to see what's the power behind the actual spirit and the ruach in which you're operating in. That's what I need to see. And if it's witchcraft, you're on the wrong track. And that's what I'm trying to get at. So we can't be deceived. We can't get caught up with these individuals that are trying to mix stuff up until the point where they sprinkle a little Yah in there, and then next thing you know, they got you gazing at the moon and stars or something behind, trying to figure out a pattern on something to direct you in a path. Man, we have to stop this stuff, because what it's doing is allowing us to be farther and farther away from Yah, because we begin to use these things instead of Ruach HaKodesh. We're putting these things in a way to guide us. They're not supposed to guide us. So let's go to 17 and 22.
Acts 17 to 22.
21 first,
21. For all the Athenians and strangers were there, spent their time in nothing else but either to tell or to hear something new.
Okay, and see, it said it, they spent their time in nothing else. It said they were already wholly given into idolatry. Here it said they spent their time to tell and to hear something new. What do we see going on now? This is what we see going on now. When you look at any of the social media, when you gaze at some of this stuff, I would say glance at some of this stuff and see people that were once into the truth. Ministers I've seen once into the truth, now they're trying to find something new. Then the next thing you know, they're not in the truth anymore. And then you see this dark ruach that's upon them. Why do I discern that? And everyone that is not going to have enough discernment to see that, and that's what allows them to get real right in. There's no way you would once with Yah, you knew Yah. Who takes away your spiritual experience, the experience that you have with the Most High to tell you something? Like, what can you tell me that's going to push aside the real experience I have with Yah? What can you tell me that can push aside that when I was out there in the field, when the ruach came upon me with the evidence of speaking in tongues came, that I went in no church. So don't tell me about no church. Don't tell me about the Christian, because it wasn't no Christian there at that point. It was me and Yah. So these experiences can't be taken away by running into something that you're trying to tell me is the truth. It's not the truth. The truth is the evidence, and that was the evidence I had. A lot of people didn't really have a real relationship with Yah prior to coming into this knowledge of the truth. You know, some of them may have came out of prison, some of them may have came from other areas or whatever, or may have been abused in a church setting to the point where they kicked out all this stuff that was going on. Don't realize a lot of that stuff they hijacked from us. They just took it and twisted it. You know what I'm saying? And they began to make it where it wasn't pure anymore. And so we begin to say, look, I'm gonna throw everything out. But how do you throw out what you're supposed to be doing? When you say we're supposed to walk in the Ruach HaKodesh, that way we will not fulfill the lust of the flesh. So how do you throw that out and say that this is Christianity or whatever? You can't throw that out. That's another trick of the enemy, trying to get you to walk in the flesh. Once he gets you to walk in the flesh, you start introducing all these other new things. You'll say they search on a regular basis for some new thing, looking for a new thrill. And this is what people are doing now. Next thing you know, they get to holler Mother Earth and all this stuff here, and you know, all this kind of stuff. You don't really want to, I don't even want to repeat any of this stuff because I don't want to get the wrong thing in somebody's psyche or anything, but just, you know what's going on. When you see this stuff out here and you see somebody go left field, next thing you know, they sit down chatting and stuff, and everything looks like it's all about the earth, and it all look like a bunch of, it's just a false illusion. You see this stuff where it's all bubbly and all this kind of stuff, and they're trying to make this, what we have this thing, that cartoon is live, love, laugh, whatever like that. We saw one time, like everything's supposed to be, it's psychological. Like this isn't psychological, this is real, because what makes it not psychological is in that false reality that they're living in, they're not ready for warfare because they've been psyched out to think that everything is going to always be fine. That's not true on this side. We're soldiers, and we're soldiers that's always ready for war, ready to aim and fire at all time to quench every fiery dart of the enemy. How are you quenching fiery darts when you've been psyched out to think that everything is all bubbly and sweet? And that's what I'm saying. We can't get caught up into that. That's a false reality. And they're painting a picture that makes, oh, it's okay, everything is lovely, and you know, all this old stuff. They get into yoga and stuff and all this. Next thing you know, they gone down this false path. So when the enemy attacks them, and it's already attacked them by them being involved in that, they don't know how to deal with it because they've been told by their instructor that nothing's going to happen because they're manifesting good things to themselves. So we can't, you know, we just have to make sure that we're being careful of all this strange doctrine that's coming out, and they're still trying to say that they're of Yah. Go to 20. We would do 22. Go ahead. So it'll be Acts 17. We read 21. We read 22.
And Paul stood in Mr. Mars Hill and said, "Ye men of Athens, I perceive that in all things you engage in the worship of devils." Okay, now in the other translation, you say that you're all superstitious. That's what they'll say. This said you engage in the worship of devils. I want to use that word superstitious because it gets more to the point. In this translation, they took it out, and that was concerning me. But superstitious, and it sticks with the subject. So they're all superstitious. They were all looking for something new. That's why I say, if I or angel from Shamayim or from heaven preach any other gospel, let them be accursed. We bring another Yahushua, another Yahushua Mashiach, which you have not seen, or Yahushua basically said, which you have not seen, then, you know, don't receive it. If there's another spirit that comes, another ruach that comes, don't receive that. It's just letting you know that there are other things that are going to come. There are other people that's going to come saying that they're the Messiah. They're going to come trying to bring you a different ruach, but you have to discern. It said, beloved, believe not every ruach, but it tells you to try it. So you have to be careful of what you're dealing with and who you receive. And if you don't be careful, you'll be caught up. Next thing you know, you're caught up and you're running down this path and you don't even realize that you've been had. Bamboozled is what I want to say. I mean, you've been hoodwinked, and you don't even understand that because of the fact that you've been, now you think you know something because they gave you some information. And now you're using this information as power to say now that you're somebody. But information doesn't define you when it's separate from Yah. It only puts you in a position to have pride. And now you don't have humility. So now the enemy is really going to have a field day with you. And now you may lose your whole mind. You know, death can come, anything. So this was a good, person here. They always walked up right and done the right thing. But what were they involved in? You have to answer the question, what would if they was involved in adultery, then they're not going to live. At some point, death will take a hold of them. Even though we see them walking in a way that we deem to be upright, but we don't judge it based upon what we see them telling us. We have to look at all the fruit behind what they're doing.
Let's go to Matthew 6, starting at the 31st verse. Still dealing with what we're supposed to be doing. We're not supposed to be seeking anything superstitious or any type of weird quest for knowledge. It's going to tell us what we should seek. Matthew 6, starting at 31, we'll stop at 33.
Matthew 6 and 31. Therefore, take no thought, saying, what shall we eat? Or what shall we drink? Or wherewithal shall we be clothed? For after all these things do other nations seek. For your heavenly Abba knows that ye have need of all these things. But seek ye first the kingdom of Yahuwah and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you.
Okay, did you keep going to
I read that.
Okay, then. All right. So basically, so it says, seek ye first the kingdom of Yah and his righteousness. So you want to seek the right standards of Yah, the right ruling of Yah. You want to seek the government of Yah, the order of Yah is what you should be seeking. That's everything that's in the kingdom. We're not just supposed to read this on the surface level. You got to seek what it is that's concerning Yah that puts you in a position where you're really saying, and you know that you're a Kodesh, where you know that you're set apart. Like you got to seek to be ruled and governed by the laws of Yah, not by the laws of this world and this nation and everything you see around you. This is what you're supposed to seek. When you're seeking that, everything else is going to be added unto you. You don't have to seek stuff. People that are going off into this new thrill with crystals and all this kind of stuff, telling you all this about energy and all this kind of stuff. Man, there's no end to the rabbit hole. I mean, it's going to keep on going. So you have to realize that when you're dealing with all that, that's just getting you to seek that stuff. It's getting you to seek something and to draw something to you. You don't tell us we have to meditate for anything like that. All we got to do is ask. If we need it, we ask and he'll give it to us. It's like we seek the kingdom of Yah. If you're seeking the kingdom of Yah, the government of Yah, Yah's right standard, living towards Yah, if you submit yourself unto Yah, you belong to Yah. So he's going to take care of you. The problem is we haven't submitted certain things in our life we haven't given up. We're trying to control certain things. In that area, he wants to control it. So since we haven't submitted that area to him, and if there's a problem you have in a certain area, he wants you to say, look, I want you to give that up. I want you to submit your whole self unto me. I want everything. I want the Romans 12. I want you to present your body a living sacrifice, holding itself unto Yah. That's the reasonable service you have. If you can't do that, then it's going to be an issue. So that's what makes you have to go meditate and all this kind of stuff on stuff. Because we're supposed to meditate on the word, but when you're trying to sit there seeking for something to come to you and all this kind of stuff, that's witchcraft. Because he just told us, dang, what we're supposed to be doing. I mean, it don't say dang what we're supposed to be doing, but it told us what we should be doing. It's like a lot of people got to play word games and stuff like that. I say this like that because somebody can be watching the video and it's like, if I tell my children, don't cross the street, I don't have to tell them don't go nowhere else over there across the street. Because I've already said, don't cross the street. This is what I'm trying to get at. So you got these people say, well, the Bible don't say don't do it. I mean, that's just pure ignorance. Like that, I mean, like the Bible doesn't tell me not to shoot myself in the head. The Bible doesn't tell me not to go run off a cliff. I mean, there's so much stuff it doesn't tell me. If you do what the Bible says do, it'll X out the things that you're not supposed to be doing. This is why we're supposed to be operating in the Ruach HaKodesh. Anybody that's thinking on that level is thinking on a level that's going to have them, well, they're not going to get anywhere because they're going to be constantly going on this Ferris wheel. They're not going to make it. So you can't think on what it told you not to do. When you see this, it tells you what you should be doing, and it doesn't tell you to be asking for something else that you're supposed to be getting through some crystals or some type of meditation or leaving your body or anything like that. No astral projection, you're not supposed to be doing none of that stuff. You're supposed to be seeking first the kingdom. And in the kingdom, it doesn't involve witchcraft, sorcery, and all this stuff. And so this we have to look at when you dissect the word. Let's look at 2 Timothy. We're about to wrap it up. 2 Timothy chapter 3. I'm trying to drive this home because we have to realize what time we're in now, that we're in time now where a whole bunch of false ruachs came out, false prophets have came out, people that are deeming themselves to be somebody and they're not, and they're taking advantage of the time. So people now are looking for hope. So it's going to be easy for you to be drawn to some false prophet or somebody that's telling you they're this or they're that. And you're thinking, okay, well, I know this person can help me because time getting rough. Don't get caught up into this person. Remember to abide in the calling. You're not excused because time is getting rough. This doesn't give the Most High still going to require that of you that he put in you. If he invested into you and you have spent time with him and you know your calling, you're supposed to be abiding in it. Quiet, y'all. You're supposed to be abiding in it. You cannot sit there and try to operate, in another realm, or try to let somebody else, mislead you or take you down the wrong road. You can't, that's no excuse. There'd be no excuse. You can't say, well, time was rough, or they had this disease out in it, and we was in a pandemic. Most I don't want to hear about pandemics and all that. We have examples of pandemics in the scripture, what he did. So it won't be a reason to be excused from judgment because of what we're dealing with now. You're held accountable to operate in the calling in which the Most High has called you to operate in, no matter what's going on in this nation. So it'd be 2 Timothy chapter 3. Yeah.
2 Timothy chapter 3, verse 1. This know also, that in the last days perilous times shall come. For men shall be lovers of their own selves, covetous, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, without natural affection, truce breakers, false accusers, incontinent, fierce, despisers of those that are good, traitors, petty, high-minded, lovers of pleasures more than lovers of Yah, having a form of regard for Yah, but denying the power of Yahuwah. From such turn away.
All right, now so stopping right there. So it say from such turn away. And this is a lot of stuff that's going on that's telling you to turn away from. Boasters and proud. Those are the two things that these titles come under. Those ones that are trying to use titles to gain, respect from individuals. Like if you didn't have that on your name, would I still see something that would make me feel drawn to you, or do I have to see that? Like when you do that, that's kind of like dangling a piece of candy, at a child saying, hey, look, I'm gonna give you this candy if you go over there and pick up this stuff and do that. It's trickery like that. Like if you need that in order to make you feel like you're somebody or to do anything, then that's not of Yah. That's not the Ruach in which it, and I look back at the scriptures before I even came out with this message, and I don't see a whole lot of time where they're stamping something in the old. We'll see where it talks about the prophet this, the prophet that. A lot of times we saw, but they were establishing government. They had real power in the system. They wasn't bound by Babylon. Like they can overrule some stuff. It's like the president of the United States wasn't able to get in their way. Like when the Most High came through, those kings and stuff, they had to set aside. He let stand one up, put one down. They was actually establishing real system and order. That's not happening right now. So I have to say that. But when we look at the time that we're in now, when I get to looking and see certain ones that they use their name, I see Peter, I see Paul, and they talk about I wasn't the chiefest one of the most apostles. I don't feel like I'm worthy, but they never did use that title to come off talking. Like when I see, oh, this apostle such. I'm saying this because that pride needs to be towed down in the ones that are doing it also, because they're going to wind up being judged by Yah, because people are going to be misled because they're going to only listen to them because they saw that. You have to be careful what you do when you're dealing with titles and stuff of that nature, because it doesn't matter at the end of the day. If the devil got cast out, it doesn't matter whether it was cast out by Apostle John or whether it was just John. That's the thing, because when we look at the gifts, I'm not going to get into gifts, but we look at, I think it's Corinthians chapter 12, when it talked about the spiritual gifts. When we look at that, it begins to say that the Ruach, that the Most High begins to give you these gifts severally as he will. Yeah, you don't pick no gift. He gives you the gift. It tells you that you can covet the best gifts. One of them, it talks about being prophecy. But you don't pick these other gifts. You get what was given to you. And you operate according to the way that you're operating, whether it be from the head all the way down. One is not better than another. It say that the hand can't say that, it's better than the arm. I'm just giving you a paraphrasing way to just explain it to you. So we can't get caught up into what we're doing, because it's not supposed to be for us. It's supposed to be for the edifying of the church, for the edifying of the body of Mashiach. That's why he said prophecy. When you cover this, he said, I'd rather that you prophesy than to speak in tongues, because it edifies the church. But when you do the prophesying, it's going to help them. But when you begin to go in tongues, Jude gives us an example with that. It said, praying in your utmost holiest faith, praying in the Ruach HaKodesh. And it builds you up. It's a personal thing between you and Yah. But if you're out ministering, you want to build up the congregation, other people. You know what I'm saying? So this is what we have to look at. So this is what I'm trying to say. When we look at these things that's going on, we can't be caught up into ones that are operate. So you can't despise people that are doing things that are good. Like it's so much stuff out here that you see that's happening behind those that are coming in a different Ruach. And we get caught up into it because we get, it's like bells and whistles. We be so excited and stuff, and we see it going on. It's like it's not Yah most of the time. Sometimes it is, but not all the time. If the fruit doesn't follow, it's not him all the time. You're not going to say that it's him when I see you operating you got a girlfriend or a boyfriend on the side, you married. It's not it. I'm sorry. I mean, you're operating in a different ruach. And it doesn't matter. We can't use this saying, oh yeah, in the end, it's going to say, did not be prophesied. We understand did not be prophesied, but they're going to be cast out. A lot of people are going to be helped. It doesn't mean they were in the right ruach, because if they were, they wouldn't be cast out. You know what I'm saying? So they're not going to be thrown into the lake of fire and brimstone operating in the right ruach, and they were helping people. So like we can't have both of them. It's going to be one or the other. Either they were operating in the right ruach and doing it, or they were operating in the wrong ruach, and the Most High just let it continue until it got to the end. So we have to be careful and be leery of allowing people to guide our life based upon having a toe-up life themselves, and we don't see anything that we can see that's the fruit. If you don't see this fruit, if you don't see Galatians operating in them, you don't see this operating in them where it say the fruit of the ruach. You don't see all this, the love, peace, patience. You don't see none of it. Half of them are impatient. Half of them don't have the patience. Half of them will go off on you and snap just they quick. They have temper problems. Like this isn't Yah like that. This is just somebody that's operating, and so you can learn this stuff. Like a copycat, you can sit here and study this stuff and learn how to repeat this stuff. But when it all boils down, if your ruach is not right, it's not going to work, because during the 7 sons of Sceva, they were not able to repeat it. They would repeat it, but they got their butt whooped. It said, told them about their clothes and sent them on their way. No, he said, I know Yahushua, HaMashiach, and I know Paul. Who are you? That's the thing. And that's what the devil's going to say. Who are you? And I'm saying, who are you in the ruach realm? That's the thing. Like your prayers are not known. I don't see you as a warrior standing at these portal gates, stopping things from coming back and forth. I don't see you able to withhold certain things from coming to pass. This is what I'm saying. Who are you? Repeating the Bible doesn't mean anything. Knowledge puffs up, but at the same time, are you able to demonstrate? That's a form of demonstration when we're dealing with these portals. Give an example of Daniel. You say he was withstood by the prince of Persia. 21 days ago, Michael said, I already heard you, but I was withstood. The portal was open and he was trying to come in too. Man, we ain't gonna even get into that, but I'm just saying we have to be aware of what we're dealing with. You have to now, the gloves are off when it comes to the enemy in this wicked world. We in Babylon, it's already going down the drain. It's on. You gotta operate in the Ruach HaKodesh now to make it. You have to really be able to hear from Yah. And if you listen to somebody, they need to be able to hear from Yah. No longer can you just sit around and read and gain knowledge. It's time out for that. Now you got to have this knowledge, and it has to be applied to your life where you can operate in the realm of the Ruach. Now you have to really be a serious gatekeeper to stop these things from even coming around in the region that you're in. It's more work to be done now outside of reading the scriptures. Okay, yeah. Yeah, you can go there.
Well, also Second Timothy 3:6. For this sort are they which creep into houses and lead captive silly women laden with sins, led away with diverse lusts, ever learning and never able to come to the knowledge of the truth. Now, as Annies and Ambries, I'm not sure who that is.
James and James,
Okay.
the ones with the rods with Moses.
James and Jambres withstood Moshe, so these also resist the truth, men of corrupt minds, reprobate concerning the belief. But they shall proceed no further, for their folly shall be manifest unto all men, as theirs also was. But you have fully known my doctrine, manner of life, purpose, belief, long suffering, love, patience, persecutions, afflictions, which came unto me at Antioch, at Iconium, and Lystra, which persecutions I endured, but out of all them, all Yahuwah delivered me.
Okay, and this is it. When he said you're fully known my doctrine, he's talking about his doctrine is his evidence. His doctrine that he have is the doctrine of Yahushua HaMashiach, and it's with power behind it. This is saying his doctrine as an apostle. He's actually able to back up what he's saying. He's not actually just giving you a good story or no good feel. He's able to back up everything he's saying. We have to look at when those brothers in Antioch began to come together and send him and Barnabas out. When they began to send them out, they laid hands on them at that time. It wasn't just a group of people that said, okay, look, we're going to go do this. These people are already under the authority of the Most High. And so they began to lay hands on him. You know what I'm saying? We have examples talking about the land on hands by the Presbyterians. So we have to make sure that when we're looking at this stuff, just because a bunch of people get together and now they say, okay, yeah, you've been around long enough, why are we going to make you a type or make you, now you're an elder? Like this stuff doesn't work like that. People doesn't do this stuff. It has to be done through the Ruach. 20 people agree and doesn't turn you into something. It doesn't give you no type of authority in Yah because 400 people agreeing, 1,000 people agreeing. Just because you're well known in a city through a political stance, or just because you're in politics, it doesn't put you in position to be somebody in Yah. And that's what we have to realize. That's why he said, I chose those things that are weak to confound those things that are strong. He let you know that I'm gonna bring my power in something that you think there's no power in. And so that's the reason why it's going to be my power. So you can't say that you're in your own strength and at the same time you're using Yah. I say this because people that I see most of the time operating in pride are showing you everything that they have accomplished outside of Yah. And they don't have anything with Yah that it had to be Yah only. That's the thing. Like, this is the thing. When Yah uses somebody, I'm not saying he can't use those people, but you've done it all. You've already did everything. You left no room for error. No one can say you haven't achieved anything, yet you want to tell us it's Yah. Like, what's supernatural about that? Like, you know, you did what you were supposed to do. You took time, studied, went to school, did what you're supposed to do. Everything worked out. That's 1 + 1 = 2. But it don't equal 2 when the Most High comes on. The math doesn't add up when the Most High comes in somebody's life and begin to disrupt things and begin to cast out certain demonic things that's going on, begin to get rid of certain things that's tormenting people. It doesn't add up. It's like you don't have time to go get no degree, or it isn't knocking somebody from it, but I'm saying this stuff can't be used to despise ones that don't have it and say that they don't have the Most High. The Most High is not holding us up by some standard that we've received in Babylon. It doesn't work like that because this wasn't out back then. Samuel went nowhere. He just stayed under Eli, and the Most High came to him, and he knew the word of God. It's an inward thing. There's a knowing. He comes to visit you when you yield your member unto him, your members unto him. But if he don't have it all, then he tarries from coming. He's not coming because you're holding back. You're holding back, so he's not coming. You can't hold back. If it's an area in your life that you haven't given to the Most High, then it causes an issue. This is the thing. It causes friction in the realm of the Ruach because it's like he said, look, I asked you to give me that. I'm not more important than that. And you're looking at such and such and them doing it. You're trying to say, okay, well, the Bible says I can do this, and you're making up all these excuses, but he told you personally to give it up. All things are lawful, but they're not expedient for everybody. That's the thing. Just because somebody did it, they have a different calling on their life. We have to quit comparing our life to somebody else's life, and we're held accountable. Everyone is going to stand up by themselves in judgment. It's not going to be, you're not going to be able to bring no group or none of that. It's going to be you and the Most High. You're going to be judged according to your deeds. A group don't have deeds together. You may have done some things with them, but your part is going to be judged by separate by the Most High. And let's look at Timothy. Let's go one more over to 4:1-8. Just trying to drive this home a little bit. 2 Timothy 4. We'll start off at the first verse. I may stop periodically, but I'm just trying to make a point here with this false stuff that's going on.
2 Timothy chapter 4, verse 1. I charge you therefore before Yahuwah and the Adonai Yahushua HaMashiach, who shall judge the quick and the dead at his appearing in his kingdom. Preach the word. Be ready in season and out of season. Reprove, rebuke, exhort with all long suffering and doctrine. For the time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine, but after their own lust shall they heap to themselves teachers having itching ears. And they shall turn away their ears from the truth and shall be turned into fables.
Okay,
unto fables.
Stopping right there. So this is what we just finished talking about. So turn unto fables. Fables is the crystals. Fables is this quest for new knowledge. Fables is what was going on in Athens, where they always seek something new. They were always seeking something new, some other type of thrill, some spiritual journey, and all this kind of stuff. Fables, anything mixed up inside the word that's not sound doctrine, and people are trying to make it doctrine. You know, and if they're not trying to make it doctrine, they're just turned over into it, period, and they're trying to have doctrine with it. So you can't mix the two. It's not going to be able to work. You can't be having fables and then say you have the word of Yah also. This is what I asked somebody that said they were Mason years ago. I said, you stand on the square or do you stand on Yahushua HaMashiach? They told me they stand on both of them. Well, that's impossible. You can't stand on both of them. You're going to have to stand on one or the other. They said they stand on both of them. And I know they were telling the truth in their mind because, you know, I've seen people, you know, uncles and stuff like that, that's with preachers, you know, not mine, but, you know, some of my cousin uncle that was saying they were both of them. And I knew they were that because they had the evidence on the star and all this stuff here. Yet I knew for a fact they were preachers because I knew the church they was at. So it's like, so they're mixing it. You can't mix these things together. And so when we see the scripture where it says, Yahushua HaMashiach said he's the only wise and true potentate, and then you see them saying at the end of their knowledge, that there's one wise and true potentate, and they're not talking about Yahushua HaMashiach. They're saying they have somebody else that's the end all be all. It all leads to Hasatan. It all leads to him. It's just a bunch of confusion. Like, you can't mix both of them together. You're not going to be able to mix worldly knowledge with the knowledge of Yah and be successful. At some point, they're going to bump into each other, and you're not going to make a choice. You're going to be sitting there trying to straddle the fence. So you're not going to be able to use it when it's convenient. That's what I'm trying to say. You can't switch over when it's time to start ministering and say, now I'm going to talk from the scripture. Then yet when you leave, now you're standing on a whole different doctrine. Someone's walking up doing hand signs, and you shaking and all this kind of stuff going on, and you backdooring this, and you can't, it's not going to work. The Most High doesn't operate in that kind of stuff. There's nothing secret under the eyes of Yah when you're dealing with the Ruach HaKodesh. Like, the children of light will see these things. We'll know that you operate in a different Ruach. You can't operate in a different Ruach and deceive somebody that eyes is open unto the truth. And the truth is anything that you see and you perceive to be truth in Yah through the realm of the Ruach, that's not false. That's it.
5. But watch in all things, endure afflictions, do the work of an evangelist, make full proof of your ministry. For I am now ready to be offered, and the time of my departure is at hand. I have fought the good fight, I have finished my course, I have guarded the belief. Henceforth there is laid up for me a crown of righteousness, which Yahuwah, the righteous judge, shall give me at that day. And not to me only, but unto all them also that love his appearing.
Okay, so you see here another time he's talking about do the work. And so he's saying do the work. He's not saying just lay back and chill. It talks about doing the work. If you're not doing the work, then what are you doing? Like, you can't. He say he fought a good fight. When you're dealing with all this yoga and all this kind of stuff, meditation on this and that, and all this so-called false happiness and all this stuff, there's no work to be done, because you're saying you manifest all happiness to you and all sweet and everything is bubbly. So that it excludes you from fighting. And so therefore you're just sitting there, sitting duck, thinking that you're protected. And when the fight comes, it's going to just take you. It's going to just take you. One blow is just going to take you out because you've been deceived. And that's another thing we have. The main thing with a lot of the stuff that I see is pride. That's the key thing. Pride and a proud Ruach is what takes so many people out, because they feel like they know it all. And they feel like that's where these debates are coming in at. All these debates we have, these showdowns and throwdowns, they're debating this versus this and all this kind of, you don't have to do that. When you're doing that, what's the point behind that? Is that going to end up with you demonstrating some power at the end of that, where this person that's in the wheelchair can be not bound anymore? Or is you just trying to prove to him you're right? And when you do that, then what? Like, do he stop talking about it now? And you king now, we crown you. It's like, so I'm trying to figure out what's the end of the confusion. Did you stop? Okay, so we finished that. So that just talks about, people, they're not wanting to hear the truth in these last days. People want to hear something that's exciting. People want to hear something that's going to get them in a feel-good type situation when they're saying, look, I feel good about myself. You're not going to always be in what they call good spirits all the time. This is why you have to actually fight off things that are coming. Sometimes it's time for war, but it don't mean that you're depressed. It just means that you're engaged in battle. You have to be engaged in battle now because there's so much going on now. We can't just allow this wave to come in and just wash us away because we're sitting there waiting on Yah. Yah is waiting on us. He's waiting on us to give us that part of our life that we don't want to give up. It's something we're holding on. It's something we want to control. It don't matter who it is or what it is. At some point, you have to give certain people over unto Yah. Paul and them talked about giving ones unto Hasatan, not less Yah, so he can teach them not to blaspheme. That's a whole nother level of power. Kicking people and expelling them out of the ministry, expelling them from your personal life because they're not operating like they should. At some point, when somebody knows better and they just refuse to hear the truth, what's the point of the relationship? I'm saying when it comes to a close relationship, we're not saying don't speak or don't talk to anybody, but at what point do you continue some close relationship with somebody that you're walking with and there's no agreement? Like what are we getting at that point? It's a pointless relationship. It's okay to associate with people and to actually be, I would say, civil with individuals. But when you run with somebody on a regular basis, when you have to entertain them, they're constantly calling you and you constantly dealing with them, what's the point? And they don't want to serve the Yah that you serve. At some point, and you've been dealing with them for years, at some point, they begin to be a vexation of your ruach. And you don't even realize, but there's a weight that they carry, and they're beginning to weigh you down, but you're letting them do it. I'm not even going to get into this, but later on, we'll talk about the power of no one day. Sometimes you have to say no. There's power in no that you can see. You say yes to everybody, somebody's going to go lacking. So you have to make sure that you operate in the Ruach HaKodesh when you deal with this stuff. Sometimes it's like, no, I can't entertain you today. Sorry, today I don't have time. Right now I got a lot going on. So I have to give it to you at some later time, when I'm available. That's it. You can't just let them call you with expectation and you right there. It doesn't work that way. This is what I mean by you have to protect your shalom. And if you don't do that, then you're going to be held accountable. The Most High is going to allow you to be held accountable because you felt like you had to do it because of who they were. It doesn't matter who their person is. What matters is if they're not in this, when I say this, I'm talking about the truth. You don't owe them anything when it comes to your shalom. And even if it's not your shalom, it's at jeopardy because you're giving energy to something that the Most High is saying don't give to because you ain't heard in the Ruach that they don't want to serve him and you're wasting time. So what's the point behind him? If you can't, if he's saying they don't want to serve them, you're going to make them serve him? And you're going to just let them hold your time up that the Most High says value that you're supposed to be doing something else with, but you, once again, you're doing what you want to do. That's what I'm saying. You got to give it up. And if you don't give it up, then, then the struggle comes. You're trying to figure out what's wrong. Why this happened to me all of a sudden? Do inventory and figure out what it is. If somebody you not forgiven, haven't released them or something like that, if somebody you're allowing to have garbage constantly in your life, they don't want the Most High. It's been proven they want him, but you're being there available. That is false. No, the Most High never told you to constantly be there available to somebody that don't want him. That's it. And the only way you're going to know that is through the Ruach HaKodesh. You have to be able to discern. If you can't discern, you're not going to know. So now you weighed down. You wonder why you're stressed, why depressions came, why you feeling all these weird feelings, what's going on? Well, you got some weight upon you. Lay aside every weight and sin that does so easily beset you. It didn't say you were being evil, it said it was a weight. That's the thing. So we have to look at it. I mean, we can't just exclude these things when we read in the scripture, it tells us to do it. We have to look at it and say, okay, am I doing this? Is there a weight in my life that's not a sin? It say every weight and sin. Is there a weight that's holding me down? And so, did you read? Where you stop up at? I know I'll be going. Get there yet? That's enough anyway. Pretty much told like it was. We're gonna wrap it up with Matthew chapter 7. Start at the 15th verse, and just gonna wrap it up right here. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Matthew 7. Let's do wrap it up there.
Right. Matthew chapter 7, verse 15.
You go ahead.
Beware of false prophets, which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves. You shall know them by their fruits. Do men gather grapes of thorns or figs of thistles? Even so, every good tree brings forth good fruit, but a corrupt tree brings forth evil fruit.
Okay, so it's just saying, beware of false prophets who come to you in sheep clothing. I just explained. Long robes, the long robe with fringes, long robe with crosses, however you want to make it out. At the end of the day, whatever it is, if it's something that makes you look important and you're operating in the wrong, the fruit is not bare, that's not showing you that it's the fruit of the Ruach HaKodesh, then we need to be beware of you. That's it. We need to make sure that we look at you and make sure that you're not finna actually try to come chew us up and devour us. You do that by us actually buying into what you're telling us, and now next thing you know, you held us captive to what you're saying. Like, we can't give you our all because of the fact that you're just telling us something. You came with a certain image. That's trickery. We can't allow ourselves no longer to be in a position where we're being pimped by these individuals anymore. You can't be pimped by them on any level, because once they get your mind, everything else begins to follow. You're going to actually begin to give them all your money, and everything else is going to, next thing you know, you're going down that road and you pretty much deem them to be the Most High. This is what he's saying. Beware of them.
18. A good tree cannot bring forth evil fruits, neither can a corrupt tree bring forth good fruit. Every tree that brings not forth good fruit is hewn down and cast into the fire. Wherefore by their fruits ye shall know them. Okay, so wherefore by their fruits, we're in with this, ye should know them. So if the fruit is not there, and if there's fruit that's not of Yah, then, you call it for what it is. So if I see that fruit that's not of Yah, then I know right there, you may be a prophet, but at this point, you're not operating as a prophet of Yah. And so, I'm just trying to figure out at the end of the day, why is it that, we do what we do? Like, why do we actually follow certain ones? Why do we operate the way we operate? What
What is it that drives us, or that allows us to actually go in the direction that we're going in? We have to look at like what ruach, what spirit is behind us also. Like, what are we doing? We have to make sure that we're careful. The only way you can do that is, like I said, constantly yielding those members unto Yah. And if you're not doing that, then you're going to get caught up into you'll even get in your own way like that. And you'll say, okay, look, I thought I was going down the wrong path. Now I'm going down the right path. Now I'm going down this way. And I know this isn't the way I was supposed to go. Why did I end up over here? Check for pride. Check for a proud ruach. Check for that, because pride is going to be one of the first reason that you get there, because the pride stops you from giving this over unto Yah, because you're saying, I should be able to do this because they're doing it. But he told you there's a different calling. So he has something greater for you to do, and you're going to deny the calling you got to operate like you see somebody else doing that's going to be judged differently. Like, so you can't let anything that you see stop you from abiding in the calling that the Most High called you to be in, and let anybody else that's coming with strange fruit entice you to follow them. All right, so you got anything? We're going to end with that right there. Father, Yah, we thank you right now for the word that went forth. Magnify your name right now for the day that you have made. We should continue to rejoice and be glad in it. Father, Yah, we pray right now for those gifts of the Ruach, Father, Yah. We pray for discernment, Father, Yah. Yes, teach us to discern good from evil, Father, Yah. Teach us to not be deceived. Yes, thank you right now, Father, Yah, for allowing us today to spot out these false prophets, to spot out these ones that are hiding behind titles and making themselves to be something that they're not. Yes, Father, Yah, thank you right now. Give us the mind of the Apostle Paul when he said, whatever their person was, added nothing unto me, because we don't care to hear what you're saying that you are. We want to see what you are doing. We want to know that the work is there. So we thank you right now that we check ourselves, Father, Yah. We think that when we operate with the demonstration and power of you through the Ruach HaKodesh, not from some other strange Ruach. We magnify your name right now just to let you know that you're worthy. Father, Yah, I thank you right now for everything that you have done, Father, Yah. Father, Yah, magnify your name right now for keeping us covered from all these disasters that's going on out here, Father, Yah. Father, Yah, keep us covered in every area of our life, Father, Yah. Father, Yah, I thank you right now, Father, Yah, because we know right now, I know in the Ruach that the gloves are off right now. The enemy desires to take us out, Father, Yah. He desires to sift us like wheat, just like you told Peter, Father, Yah, but you prayed for him. I thank you right now that we pray for everybody and that you constantly allow us to be able to operate in the right Ruach and do not allow our faith to fail us, Father, Yah. Yes, Father, Yah, we magnify your name right now because you're worthy, Father, Yah. We constantly acknowledge you in every area of our life. In the name of your son, Yahushua HaMashiach, we pray, so be it.